out your papers and your trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub the kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak, yakety yak. Don't talk back. Money. Excuse me, but I was just taking a shower.
Good morning, good evening, welcome people to what we think is episode 122 of Dude and the Monkey. I was your host, Mark Foster. I am joined as ever by my co-host,
Ian Loring, hello.
And we have frequent collaborator.
Hey, Noel Mellor.
We're talking about what it would seem like what everyone seems to be saying is the worst movie ever fucking made, Fantastic Four. Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, even he doesn't really seem to like it that much, or does he? We don't know, because he keeps deleting his stuff.
No, he doesn't.
Does he not?
No.
Yes, we're going to talk Fantastic Four. We'll chat some trailers. I really, really, really hope the guys have got some what we've been watching, because I've only watched one other film this week. And we'll probably have some tangents that I will lead, because I've only watched one other film this week. Has anything happened this week, guys? Because I don't fucking know, because I've barely been on any kind of social media. But it does seem like anybody to do with Fantastic Four has basically acted out.
It feels like the only thing that anybody's been talking about to me. Like, I've not noticed anything else happening. So.
Yeah, it does seem like a movie where everybody has tried to have a go at, bless it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll get to it, but I don't know, when you've got an opening weekend of like $26 million in the US, or whatever, I think that's what it turned out to be now, and you know, that's as much as John Carter made. You know, and obviously John Carter's reputation, I think that kind of says something. I mean, it's interesting. I'm surprised the old a comic book movie's burning out bollocks hasn't like hit yet, but it seems like the more interesting story for the film Twitter sphere is the Josh Trank thing. I mean, we'll get to it, you know, but it does seem like all anybody's been talking about this week. I don't know. I've just been playing a lot of video games. I've got shit to talk about with what we've been watching, but I've not been on Twitter that much this week. So it's over to Noel, I suppose.
Sweet. Sorry, you broke up a little bit there for me, so.
You dipped out, so if you asked Noel a question, nobody heard it.
No, I didn't, but I'm recording anyway, so people will hear what I said, so don't worry about it.
Right, well, guys, trailers. Who wants to start?
I literally just watched the trailer for The Last Witch Hunter.
The Last Witch Hunter? Is that
the Vin Diesel thing?
Yeah, new Vin Diesel film, yeah. It's Vin Diesel, Michael Caine and Elijah Wood. And you know nothing Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. I think that's her character's name.
Yeah. No, I thing about this.
Yeah, so
I feel like I've already seen a trailer for this. Was there
I don't know.
teaser trailer or something?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I've seen a trailer for it.
He's got really, really good fake facial hair, and when I say good, I mean laughably terrible.
I've got to Google that now.
It's pretty solid. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be taking itself very, very seriously. I would enjoy this if it was as campy as it kind of feels like it should be, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that. But I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. I know Vin Diesel's very passionate about it.
Vin Diesel's the guy who gets passionate about every film he works on, which thing. You know, I'm not going to criticise him for that. But you know, when he decides on a movie, it's like he goes, "Oh my god, this is the best movie I am making ever."
Well, he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he publicises stuff saying like, "This is the best film I've ever done," but Vin Diesel actually means it.
Yeah, he does. Which, you know, you've got to give him credit for that, bless him.
So there's that. I'll let you guys kind of jack off over Deadpool because I'm worried about Deadpool myself, but I know you two are excited. So
I'm so excited. It does seem like a comic book movie because I'm not as invested in the comic book movie thing as everyone else is. I enjoy them, but I don't tend to get that excited about them. Whereas with Deadpool, I'm excited because it's kind of like a comic book movie that's almost saying, oh, you know, all those other things that comic book movies do. Well, we're going to do that, but we're also going to show a fuckload of blood and cussing and fourth wall breaking and all this lot. And I'm very, very excited about it. Yeah, I like the fact as well that this movie has been willed into existence as well.
Yeah, it's a weird one for me because it's not a character that I like in the comic books very much. Cause I find the sense of humour very the way he sort of like talks to the camera and stuff like that. It's a bit corny and it's a bit too obvious for me, that sense of humour. However, it seems to be working quite well in this, so I don't. Maybe that sense of humour will transfer to cinema a little bit better for me. It's the one thing that I was worried about was, you know, is it going to be too sort of like Ryan Reynolds just sort of like winking and mugging at the camera and all that type of thing. It could have been quite cringeworthy, but it's kind of working for me. And the teaser trailer that came before it as well, the mention of from the studio that previously inexplicably sewed his fucking mouth closed or whatever it was. Yeah, it's that type of thing. It works quite well. It's cheeky. It's going to be R-rated. It's going to be gory. It looks like it's going to have some decent action scenes, which comic book movies need, and that'll come up again later. And yeah, so I'm well looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the teaser trailer and the trailer. The teaser trailer, you know, it was amusing. It was literally like they sat down and went and just said, right, just shoot, and Reynolds just said whatever the fuck he felt like saying. And I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan anyway, so it has me on board with that. I'm just very much looking forward to it. I like the fact that it's been released in February. I like the fact that it's kind of almost gone, look, we're doing this. We don't give a shit if it's a success, because the victory of this is the fact that we're actually fucking making it.
I tell you what, saying that, after how Fantastic Four's done at the box office, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fox suits start trying to meddle with it.
The budget on it is nowhere near what, you know, the majority of comic book movies budgets have been, really, to be honest. So, whereas Fantastic Four has to make a lot of money, to sort of be considered a success, Deadpool will probably have to make maybe a third or even less of that money to actually be deemed a success. Certainly.
Yeah.
I think that's the right approach with this as well, because it's not a movie that they have to spend too much money on, and it's a character that's totally unproven, totally unknown to most people, and obviously this is going to be R-rated. It's risky, so the potential is there for it to do pretty well and be seen as a massive success as a result, especially on the back of something like Fantastic Four bombing. So, you know, I think they seem to be going about it the right way for me.
Well, I will say I like Ryan Reynolds as well. I'm a little worried that it's going to be too much, and the trailer I thought was all right, but it just I think I might have told this story on the show before, but when I used to preview prints at the cinema, it sounds like a tangent, but stay with me. I previewed a print of The Hangover, and Brad came to see it, who we all know, because he was working at The View at the time. Every time there was something funny, remotely funny that happened on screen, he would lose his shit and then look at me like, "That's funny, isn't that funny? That's so funny. Oh my god, that is so funny." And it completely coloured The Hangover for me. This trailer feels like the trailer equivalent of that to me. It's a trailer, like, say, "Isn't this so funny? This is really fucking funny." It's got a confidence to it, and I think that's what it is. But I suppose that's a good thing. I'm a little worried what 100 minutes of this.
It isn't a comedy, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm worried what 100 minutes of oh fuck on funny is gonna be like.
Do you know what though? That's the thing. I'll take 100 minutes of that over 100 minutes of what we've been getting more recently with comic book movies. I need something different.
I'm willing to watch
something
100 minutes of it because it is different. I'm worried about the quality of that 100 minutes personally. Comedy's incredibly subjective. I like A Haunted House too. So I don't mean, I mean nothing to anyone. To me, it felt a little bit, I'm not too sure about this, but we will see, and I agree that it is definitely a change, and that's good.
Well, that's it. I think I was expecting it to feel like what you're saying. So, seeing it and actually going, oh, alright, actually this works. That's where I'm at with it. I think it's just expecting it to be that very sort of, you know, self-referential, been done to death. I always say the same phrase, and that sort of sub-Whedon sort of,
sure.
You know, I was really worried about that, but it doesn't feel as bad as it could to me, so that the humour is actually working in its favour for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm not gonna begrudge anyone really, really liking the trailer. I'm not as high on it. I think it's a good trailer. It looks like a topographical map of Idaho. Fucked, whatever it was. That's a good line.
Yeah.
You know.
Unless you watch the Green Band trailer, in which case he just says you look like a typographical map of Idaho.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Essentially, the Green Band trailer at the end of it actually has Deadpool saying, "Go watch the Red Band. Go watch the Red Band."
Yeah.
Which I thought was actually quite amusing. I mean,
at which point I was like, "Fuck! I didn't know there was a Red Band." So yeah.
I thought it was the fucking Red Band, you lying YouTube. But the sneak peek, fucking what is it? The line from 5-time Academy Award viewer Ryan Reynolds made me laugh more than
5-time Academy Award viewer.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Made me laugh more than anything else comedy in cinema this year so fucking far. So I am well up for it.
I think the thing is that they're only going to be able to get away with so much, and in this trailer they've got Ryan Reynolds on a gurney screaming, "When you do the super suit, don't make it green and don't make it animated." That's great, but you can there's only so much room for that stuff before it starts to become the problem that Ian's expecting it to be. So,
not that I'm not that I'm expecting it to
Although
be
you're worried
what
that
it could
it's, yeah.
be. Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely agree. But I think, we get the humour. I personally am on board with the humour, but there is a danger that they could crank it up too far. I get that, but a film with a little bit of that tone to it right now would be a great palate cleanser, I think.
I could see us all going to Manchester City Centre in February and checking this out, and then just doing like a 3-hour-long drunken review of Deadpool.
I'm all right with that.
I could actually see that happening, and so am I.
I would be very, very up for that.
Is it in premium large format theatres? Do we know, Mark?
I think it is going to be in premium large format theatres.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes. Right. I'll move us on to the trailer I watched that surprised me because I've not watched any of the trailers for this yet. But I caught a trailer before Fantastic did actually go. Ugh. Before the trailer started, and then about a minute into the trailer went, oh, alright then, I'm actually quite interested now. And it's the trailer for Hitman Agent 47.
Oh, yeah.
Can it have the helicopter? Because that bit was in the last trailer, and that bit had me more interested in anything.
Yeah, and that was the bit where I was going, blah, 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 literally, because I was on my own at this point with Fantastic Four, and I was actually sat in my seat going, blah, 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 transporter taken, blah, 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 blah. Oh. Well, that's fucking new.
Yeah, but that helicopter bit is, that's exactly how I feel. It's like, Netflix. Oh, I actually might see this in the cinema.
And when there's a great bit where there's a gun on the table, and he's getting asked, you don't know your name, let's start with your name, and he goes, 47. He's like, that's not a name, and he says, well, it's my name. And then kicks and the gun shoots, and he lifts as he does that, he lifts his...
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you know what? This has got me now.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same way, and I actually quite like that actor as well from Homeland. He's great in Homeland, so yeah, I'm on board with this. He looks a bit weird with a shaved head though. He looks a bit like a cancer patient.
Does look a little bit like a cancer patient, but I like the fact that he seems to committed to a suit with a red tie, even though he's well aware that it is not practical in what he's doing, and that maybe causing him to lose 5% of his practicality, but he's willing to give that up because he has committed to that outfit.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a strong game.
I think it could be stupid fun, and I think it looks like it's going to take itself quite seriously, but I don't think that will necessarily, go against it.
I'm far more looking forward to this than I am the transporter refueled.
Oh yeah.
The transporter refueled looks a little bit like a Granada film from 1993. It just I look at it and go, oh my god, what? No, we don't need this film again because EuropaCorp, you keep making this same film.
It's still, EuropaCorp brought us from Paris with Love, which had the best tagline of all time.
What was it?
2 cops, 1 city, no merci.
Oh, God, yes.
It had a great poster as well, didn't it? The gun with the sort of Eiffel Tower thing. It was, yeah.
I like From Russia with Love. I do like From Russia with Love. From Paris with Love. It's a guilty pleasure.
I seem to remember having a good time with it as well, actually, yeah.
I've not watched it. I probably never will. But if it says on Netflix, I promise to watch it.
I'm pretty sure we covered it on Heroes.
I think we might have,
I think we did, didn't we? Yeah.
I'm out of trailers now. I think that's everything I watched. Has anyone got anything? Oh no, I didn't say I watched Land little teaser thing. Yeah, still just couldn't care less.
Oh, the Zoolander.
Ship sail. Yeah, ship sail for me on that. It's been too long. It had been too long for Anchorman, and they managed to just get away with it. Whereas with the Zoolander one, it's like, no. That is going to have to get some seriously fucking good reviews to me to actually warrant ever giving a shit. Oh, no, actually, the other one I did see was a trailer for that. I can't remember what it's called now. The new Owen Wilson one that's not a comedy.
Oh, yeah, I saw that as well.
Interesting. Last time he made not a comedy of any description was Behind Enemy Lines, and that was great.
Yeah, what was the concept of this thing? Is it something like he's just a guy, he's a dad, and they're killing dads?
Foreign country, and rebels start taking over and start killing foreigners, and he's got to get his wife and his kid, keep them safe, essentially.
From dirty foreigners.
From dirty insurgents. Yes, so that was trailers. We didn't watch many, but we got a lot of fucking mileage out of Deadpool and that. So, we're not doing fucking trailers anymore, are we? So we're not going to play you a trailer for Fantastic Four. We're just going to get into fucking talking about it. Directed by Josh Trank, although he'd like to tell you that he had nothing to fucking do with it. Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, Kate Mara, Jamie Bell, Toby Kebbell, Blake Nelson, and Reg Cathay. Noel, you're our guest. Fantastic Four. What did you think of it? Was it fantastic? Better than nobody else.
I don't think anybody's saying it's fantastic. I thought it was pretty terrible. I was hoping Lowered Expectations would play a role, and I would get something out of it, but there's no getting away from the fact that it's an absolute mess. Like it's the structure of it is appalling. The way the characters are dealt with in that first hour that we're sort of is sometimes it's occasionally interesting. You sort of look back on it and look at actually how defined those characters were, and actually it's a bit like, well, yeah, actually that wasn't very good at all. And then the climax just comes out of nowhere. And it's, we've been watching some sort of indie movie where we're watching some young science boffins try and figure out some weird thing and then go for a drunk drive in it. And then it's like, oh, now the universe is ending. And it's like, well, where the fuck did this come from? It's structurally a mess, and the characterization is terrible. It's not the Fantastic Four that I recognize, but then I haven't read the Ultimate Fantastic Four by Mark Millar and Brian Michael Bendis that apparently it's based on. So yeah, but I thought it was pretty terrible, actually.
Ian, thoughts?
I thought it was all right. I'm not going to say it's fantastic either. But I mean, basically, I think before 1 year later, I'm actually quite up for it and pretty interested. After 1 year later, kind of feels like, the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween, where the first half's all kind of origin story, and then the second half's basically the first one, but just like sped up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this, except there wasn't like a first one to kind of really base it on. I think it's like the first half takes its time, and then the second half is just like, oh, right, okay, fuck it. All right, 1 year later, they're all doing this stuff now. Miles Teller's missing, and boom, here we go. Doctor Doom's back, and fight, and little jovial bit at the end, and end. And
see, that 1 year later thing is a huge mistake.
Oh yeah,
a huge mistake. And I'm, I don't know the details about it. I don't know if anybody does at this point, but that feels like the thing that was kind of wedged into it that's really disrupted everything. Because why on earth would you spend that amount of time and energy setting up these characters and then have the interesting point where they're getting to know their own powers completely wiped out of it? I mean, so that you can say, for 1 year, Reed Richards has been pottering about and has not been traceable, despite the fact he's just some 19-year-old kid. He's not been traceable by any agency in the entire world. They've been trolling that, but somehow he's now a brilliant field operative. You've got fucking Ben Grimm, who's now, with 43 confirmed kills, a mass murderer. You've got you've got Doctor Doom, who has, for some reason, decided that he wants to rule an empty universe. And you've got Sue Storm, who's sort of milling about, practicing her skills, but she says she doesn't want to be a tool, but then she just kind of ends up
being a tool.
She kind of is a tool, and she's not that bothered about it. It's half-arsed. It's so half-arsed.
I mean, Mark, you haven't said what you think yet.
I was going into Fantastic Four, really kind of hoping that it was one of those where, you know, people are being, you know, sniffy about it, just to fucking be sniffy about stuff, because that's what people do. But it's a fucking mess. It really is. There's points of dialogue and script where I was just thinking, this is bad. It's badly paced. It's badly directed. The script is terrible. The actors seem, I mean, Kate Mara, you know, Michael B. Jordan, and Miles Teller. We all know that they're good to capable performers. Everything I've seen Kate Mara in, she does that kind of edging her face forward and looking through her hair thing in everything. But apparently I don't watch it, but apparently she was brilliant in House of Cards, am I right?
Yeah,
she is, yeah, she's okay.
Miles Teller, you know, we know he can be very, very good. Michael B. Jordan, I've not seen him in enough. Toby Kebbell's, you know, he's always good at things. Tim Blake Nelson's great. But they look like, as the film's gone on, there's this points where they look like they're just going, oh, I'm just going to say this line just to fucking get the fuck out of there. I just want this to be over. I've never seen, you know, Miles Teller seems like a guy who's got a lot of fucking energy all the time in every performance, you know, whether it be something stupid that he's doing, like, that film he made with, what's his name?
He's an alcoholic.
Yeah, even that, The Spectacular Now, or the one he did with Zach, I remember the name of it, or Whiplash. He's always, or even Footloose remake, he's always got a lot of energy. And in the second half of this, after the 1 year later, which looks like 1 year later and should have said in brackets, 20 minutes lifted out, it seems like he turned up and he went, yeah, I'm not going to say that, 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 and then literally just said the least amount of lines that he could get away with. And the director just went, yeah, cut, done, fine. And
see, the thing is I didn't have much. Sorry, Mark, carry on.
It felt really amateur, which for a movie that cost over $100 million to feel that just directionless is staggering.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between having a kind of an intimate scale and just feeling like you've got low production values.
Yeah.
And Fantastic Four does actually manage to look like low production values. Like the stakes of it, you don't feel like anything is under threat, really.
It is, like you were saying, no, and what you said then, Ian, I knew, because Becky picks me up from the cinema, I know what time films are going to finish, because the View put on what time it's going to finish. So I knew it finished at 1:20, and it got to like 1:05, and I thought, fucking hell. I thought, they must have made a mistake. They must have like forgotten to add on the trailers or something to this, because there can't only be a quarter of an hour left of this movie. So I had to go out to check, because I didn't want Becky turning up half an hour fucking early. And I checked and went, no, yeah, that's all there is, and whipped back in, and I missed fucking nothing. But it ends just so, the climax of the movie is just almost like a fucking afterthought.
Well,
that's the shift I'm talking about, with the sort of, you know, Ian, what you're saying about the production values. Fantastic Four, like a lot of Marvel properties, to be fair, you know, New York is an important character in these stories, and New York is just not there at all. They arrive in New York, they go inside the Baxter building, which you find out is actually this thriving sort of hub of youth, and it's like a college campus, but you don't get to meet any of the people who are there. You don't get to feel what that busy environment's like. You don't get to feel what life in New York's like.
It's a less
it doesn't
funny
look
Hooli.
Yeah. It's nobody says anything in there. Nobody leaves the building. We don't get to leave the building. We look out the window once. So it doesn't feel like it's taking place in the world. It feels like it's taking place in in a studio, in that, the first hour where the first hour and 20 minutes or so, or whatever, where everything is taking place in that one science lab. So then when all of a sudden you realize you've been in a science lab for a fucking hour or so, then it just flips round to, oh right, now the universe is imploding. And it's like, well, fucking, I don't feel like this story is taking part in the world, and now you're putting the whole world under threat. And there's a shot of, cars and people being sucked into this sort of wormhole, and it's a bit like, this film hasn't operated outside for the last hour or so, and now it's just, the world's ending. I mean, it's such a horrible shift.
I mean, apparently that ending, it's basically almost public knowledge now that Josh Trank wasn't even there for it, and I think Simon Kinberg kind of took over. Right. I mean, the story behind the making of this thing is going to be legend one day, I think.
I'm looking forward to the documentary about the making of this film much more than I am.
What happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just like to say, because I started off saying I liked it, and then I've just been agreeing with you guys. The first half of it, I was actually kind of getting on board. I thought there were good individual moments. I like the fact that they go over there because they're just pissed and they want to make their mark and they do something reckless. I mean, Josh Trank in the publicity for it was saying that he wanted to go body horror, and it feels like the fact that you don't actually see two of the characters react to them discovering their powers. Like Human Torch, she's basically unconscious, and Sue Storm is as well. It feels like there was more of that there. And that moment where Miles Teller is kind of stretching out and he doesn't realise that he's, like, stretching. And then he looks behind him, and then that look of horror on his face, and he passes out. Little things like that, I'm just like, that's fucking interesting. And I liked Mr. Fantastic and the Thing's first conversation as such, where Miles Teller's in the air vent. And I liked what that was setting up as well, like the whole "you did this to me, find a way to fix it," and then they just kind of bleh by the end of the film. And I quite like the way that Toby Kebbell's character wasn't a bad guy. He was definitely a black sheep, but he wasn't like straight up a bad guy. And there was just interesting things kind of building up there that I think that this half an hour, I'm assuming, must have been chucked out. There might have been kind of more follow through on those kinds of things. I mean, also the fact that there is absolutely nothing to suggest that Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm will ever get together in this.
No.
I mean, they have a smiley conversation once.
Well, there's nothing relationship wise between any of the characters. You don't get anything between Sue and Reed. You get nothing between Sue and Johnny. Apparently they're adopted brothers and sisters and they've grown up together. What you want from the Fantastic Four is you want a family dynamic. And that fact that there is nothing between any of these characters. And this isn't a problem with the performances. I think all the performances were absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But there's nothing going on between Sue and Johnny, which is really important. There's nothing going on between Sue and Reed, which is really important. And there's nothing going on between Reed and Ben. I mean, that's the one they spend a little bit more time on between Reed and Ben, but you don't really feel it. You don't really feel like they're best friends who've grown up together and been through a lot, and Reed's going to take Ben with him and make sure that he's okay and pull him out of his old life and stuff like that. It's not there. So by the time they have to join forces at the end of it and fight this faceless, terrible bad guy, terrible canon level bad guy, there's no family dynamic damn it there, you don't want them to, there's nothing to want them to bond together.
I will say, that sequence where he's walking down the corridor and just blowing up people's heads, come on, that was alright.
Yeah,
It would have been alright had he not, if he didn't look like he was just wrapped in Tesco bags.
Oh, yeah,
like,
no,
it was
yes.
Terrible
Yes. But that idea, and the way that it's shot with him just, it kind of like shoulder, almost like a third-person shooter or something weirdly, where he's walking along the corridor and just like looking at people, and then their heads are blowing. I mean, it was kind of Akira-ish, you know. And
very, yeah.
You know, and it's just there are nuggets in this film that make it feel like there's something more here that's not here. You know, and I mean, I mean, the way Trank's been like tweeting about it, we'll never, ever, 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 ever see his cut. It's like when the original Daredevil came out, Mark Steven Johnson played it like a fucking professional. He obviously wasn't happy with the release cut. He kept his fucking mouth shut. And what did Fox do? They let him release his director's cut eventually. And like people do generally think that is a much better version of that story. If he had kept his mouth shut, Trank, they might, well, and just as damage limitation as much as anything else, might have let him actually release his version at some later stage. That's never happening now. All that's being thought of this film now is, right, how much are we going to write off, and how long can we give it until we give it another reboot?
It does seem a little bit like what Josh Trank should do, based on rumours that you hear from, and it's based purely on rumours though, of what was happening in production, is maybe you should spend a little bit more time being a professional filmmaker and a little bit less time getting baked. Because it does seem like he got baked and decided to slag off his own movie, and there were a lot of stories about him turning up pretty fucked up on set.
Well, the thing is...
Sorry.
If you want to be that type of director, then be that type of director, but don't expect to direct Marvel movies. If you do you know what I mean? There's a lot of money behind this stuff.
It's fine if you want to be Kevin Smith and you want to direct Clerks fucking 3 and you want to get
exactly
and go and make that. That's fine. But, you know, do you think Kenneth Branagh turned up baked some fucking Thor? Probably not. You know, I'd be very fucking surprised. You know, it just, you can't. It does seem like this film, just nothing has gone right for it.
No, but I mean, I will say, right, in the end of the day, 95% of the population, at least, don't hear these stories, don't hear this bad word. So why are they not going to this film? And
it's difficult sell.
And it just feels completely inessential.
Yeah.
And I mean, I liked the film. I am giving it a definitely not shit. I am. Because of the promise of some of it, which maybe is a reason why I should say it's definitely shit, because it doesn't follow through. But there's just about enough stuff I like in there. But it doesn't feel like a story that needs to be told. But again, it doesn't quite feel like it's just a film being made just to retain rights. I mean, at least what the nuggets of it. It doesn't feel like Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Amazing Spider-Man, where it's just like we have to make something to keep the rights. It feels like Josh Trank had something going on and then just completely ballsed it up on set, and now the studio just had to release this because they had to release the film.
It doesn't feel to me like they were trying to retain the rights. It feels more to me like they were desperate to set up a universe, and that comes down to or at least a frame. And that comes down to what you're saying about sort of public, what you say about public perception of this and not knowing this side of the story and stuff like that. Is that nowadays people expect that. Right, a comic book movie's coming out. Who's the character? It's Ant-Man. Right, I've never heard of Ant-Man. What's he? One of the Avengers? Well, yeah, he could be. You know, if the film does well, he might be in one of these Avengers movies or something like that. Right, who's this guy? Thor. Right, he's definitely Avenger. They're doing a new Superman film. Oh, are they? Who's going to be in it? Well, Batman's going to be in it. Oh, right, so they're doing a Justice League. Yeah, so like people expect this. So the questions around the Fantastic Four in the lead up to it have been, oh, so does this mean the Fantastic Four are going to be in the Avengers? It's like, well, no, but they might be in the X-Men we're not sure really. It's complicated, and people are like, well, I don't care, I don't really understand it. It looks boring, it looks really dark, everything's really dull. It's not vibrant, it's not funny, it's not. There's nothing too much that pops out of the screen at you, and that makes it a difficult sell for audiences. What you do with something like this, something like the Fantastic Four, I think, is you stop trying to make a franchise that can potentially tie into another franchise, and you look at the material and you go, right, what have we got? We've got these 4 characters, and they're kind of wacky, and they're a bit daft, and there's a bit of a sort of daft, silly sort of 60s aesthetic to this whole thing, and you make a family movie. And to a degree, that's what they did. That's what Tim Story did with the last 2, and I have no problem with those 2 movies. The second one's not great. The first one is a fun family comic book movie.
Exactly.
And that's all it needs to be.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, I just want to pose Noel a question just based on what he said there. I'm not trying to troll or anything. I'm genuinely interested. Right. Would you prefer for Fox to just try and reboot this in 5-10 years and give it another go, or would you just prefer for Marvel to have the rights and then make it a Marvel Studios film and all that entails?
I think the problem with it is if it becomes a Marvel Studios property now, then it becomes homogenized into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it doesn't get to be anything crazier than that. One of the things I was hoping Ant-Man would have was a bit more of an aesthetic that took it out of that MCU thing that just slots nicely into the Avengers. And I think Fantastic Four is a perfect vehicle for that. So, honestly, I would rather they just got a different director to give it a reboot in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. But rather than trying to make it the Fantastic Four Begins, or rather than try and make it something that they can then spin into their other, their X-Men property or whatever, just let it be what the characters suggest it should be. Let the aesthetic fit the characters and make it a bit more colourful and make it a bit more fun. And it doesn't have to be the Tim Story ones. It can have a bit of a sort of kitschy sort of aesthetic that is different to everything else. So yeah, I'd be happy for Fox to have another go at it further down the line rather than hand it back to Marvel, because I don't think the Fantastic Four are necessary to the Marvel universe at the moment, especially not this Fantastic Four. We've got 3 great scientists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the moment. So we've got 3 people who can do engineering and science and all that good stuff. So we don't need Reed Richards in there. We don't need the Thing in there because we've got the Hulk. We don't need Sue Storm because she was a bit bland in this, and there are other female characters coming down the line. And the Human Torch, I don't really, we've got Iron Man. It's not necessary, I don't think, to the MCU.
I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens now, I think, because this is toxic now. Straight up, everybody involved in this, in terms of the characters that, these people playing these characters, they can't do it again. I mean, they've already announced a sequel date for 2 years' time, but they did that before this came out. That's not happening.
No way.
There is no way, with the level of box office this film is going to get, that Fox can do a sequel to this.
There's already rumours that money's going to be funneled elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's... In the end of the day now, I could see... The thing is, Fox have already kind of burnt their bridges with Marvel Studios, in so much as, Sony have kind of played ball with them, and now Spider-Man's going to be incorporated, and Sony get to keep a large portion of that cash. So I think it's basically Marvel get to use Spider-Man in the Marvel Studios films, and they will get that sweet, sweet money, and it won't have anything to do with Sony. But then when Sony do the standalone Spider-Man films, they get to keep the sweet, sweet money. So it's kind of like a win-win. Whereas I think Marvel and Fox had talks previously, and Fox basically just said, fuck you, we're doing our thing. And now it's like, do Marvel Studios just say, tell you what, we'll give you $300 million. There you go. You know, that pays for this Fantastic Four a couple of times over. We'll have the rights back. You guys don't have to worry about it anymore. Keep your X-Men, whatever. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's what's going to happen.
So do I.
But as much as I couldn't care less about a sequel to this movie, I also couldn't give a shit about a Marvel Studios Fantastic Four. I just, you know, the characters do nothing for me. And like no scene, it would be homogenized into that Marvel universe, and we just get, you know, another MCU version of this, and it doesn't need it. It'd be pointless. It'd be, and I don't, you know, Marvel might take it on, but Marvel might look at it and go, do you know what? Maybe we can use the characters within another film, but like they've done with Hulk, and have gone, do you know what? We don't think that you can sell a Fantastic Four movie anymore. And it's been proven. I was watching it in one of the big screens at the View, and you know, and it was midday on a Sunday. Granted, it's a really nice Sunday, but it's school holidays. There was 5 people.
Yeah, I went to see it. I went to see it 5 o'clock Friday afternoon. There was probably about a dozen of us.
Yeah, there was
I think there was probably about 10 people in my screen. I drove all the way to fucking Leeds to watch this movie.
Well, to be fair, you wanted to practice your motorway driving.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, it was just an excuse to go to. Yeah, it's a really nice cinema actually out in Leeds that I went to as well. I should just little tangent, but the Everyman the Everyman Cinema in Leeds. I think it's like maybe 3 or 4 screens, and it's in like a shopping complex, like a mall. But you go in there and it's got like really cool decor inside. It's a really nice bar with loads of craft ales. You go into the actual cinema screening, the actual theatre, and it's couches. Like it's just a bunch of couches. I think Screen 1, which is what I was in, seats about 120 people, I think, and it's just double couches with little tables next to them. It's really, really nice. So yeah, the theatrical experience was better than the movie experience, but yeah, just going back to what you were saying there, I think if you look at it now, this really is 4 failed Fantastic Four projects now. So certainly in the eyes of comic book fans and you know and comic book movie lovers, it's 4 failed Fantastic Four movies. So they will be seen as you say, in toxic. There will be, but it'll be heaped onto the Fantastic Four in the long run. People will just say, oh, you can't make a Fantastic Four movie. It's been proven they can't do it right. They can't get the characters right. They can't get this right. I think it's a matter of aesthetic, and I think it's just, you know, let's stop worrying about turning everything into a universe or combining everything into a universe or getting it into a franchise, and let's just look at some stories and some characters and mix things up a bit. You know, don't worry about getting the Fantastic Four into the X-Men or the Marvel Cinematic Universe or anything else. Maybe give it to a director I don't know, Edgar Wright's probably not the best example, but somebody with a bit of an eye, and set it in the 1950s and make it like a bit of a cheeky sort of spy aesthetic, so you can get away with a little bit more and you can make Doctor Doom look like Doctor Doom. Like, you know, have fun with it. Like, or fucking do a CG one. Do a, you know, a Pixar type job. Yeah, an animated one. Like, play with the characters, make it a bit more fun. Like, everything doesn't have to slot in somewhere, like, in the grand scheme of things, especially if you're going to end up fucking rebooting it in 5 years' time anyway.
I've got to say as well, in the international box office, apparently, it's reported that it's 34.1 million, and it was in 43 countries. I mean, 26 million of that was, actually, no, tell a lie. It's that 34 million plus the 26 million. So you're looking at $60 million worldwide in its first weekend. And it cost, 150 odd? Like, it's gonna be lucky to even make its initial budget back.
And that's with all this sort of toxicity around it not really making it out to the public just yet. So as soon as this stink that's attached to this film is out there, nobody's going to be interested in it at all.
That's fucked.
Yeah, this movie's got to make 250 million to make its budget, and it's at this rate, it's going to struggle to make excess of 100 million.
It's like I'm just reading now. It's projected to end at 60 million in the US. I mean, like, Mission Impossible is on around just under 110 million now.
Yeah, have you seen the advert, the Mission Impossible advert yet? TV spot?
No.
It literally, TV spot, standard TV spot, and then it goes to the front of the screen in big letters, the #1 movie in the world.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
Vacation is probably going, it could well do better than Fantastic Four in the US.
That's insane.
I mean,
that is insane, categorically.
I mean, I know I talk about box office a lot, but that's got to be the biggest bomb this year. I don't see anything else from, like, budget to, like, gross ratio doing worse.
Is there anything else that can do worse? You know, unless Bond comes out and nobody sees it, there's nothing else that can do worse.
No, I mean, Bond's going to do fine. Star Wars is going to do fine. I mean, you've got The Man from U.N.C.L.E. next week, but word on that's actually fairly positive. So word of mouth alone might help that out as much as anything else.
I've got a good feeling about that.
So
film,
have I, man. Yeah.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I honestly, I know we're coming next week on the show, but for the trailers and everything, I look at it and go, it just looks horrible. Just looks so horrible.
I think it looks fun, man.
Yeah.
I think it looks fun.
It is, but I'm willing to go into it going, it could just be the trailer though. It could just be the trailer. But I for some reason, I look at it and go, no, stop, please. But I'm definitely willing to give it a go, which is, why I think it'll do quite well.
What, because you're willing to give it a go?
Because you're willing to give it a go. As soon as the world sees that I've come round to it, they'll follow suit.
Are you denying my influence?
No, I would never dare.
Right, I think we might be done anyway.
I think we are, yeah. It's shit.
Yeah, it's definitely shit.
I'm sticking to my guns. I'm fine. I 100%, whatever you guys want to think that's absolutely A-okay. I don't feel that passionately about it. I'm going to be one of its champions, and I would probably only give it a 3 out of 5.
Fucking hell.
I haven't star rated it yet, but suffice to say, I enjoyed Pitch Perfect 2 more than I enjoyed this, which is
H Christ.
Not what I was expecting to be saying. I hated Pitch Perfect 2, but
I point during Fantastic Four, needed to urinate really badly and thought the only reason why I'm not going to go for a piss right now is because I don't think I'd come back into the screen.
Wow.
If I go now, I'll go. And I knew I had to review it for things. I couldn't just fucking leave. But it is the closest I have been since Wild Wild West to just fucking walking out of a movie.
It's a stinker.
Yeah. Right. So we'll...
little break. Just need a pee.
All right. Ian's going to go for a pee. You don't need to leave that in, Ian.
I probably will.
Fucking point.
How...
Hello?
Oh.
Sorry, did you say something there, Mark?
Yeah, I said, how was the motorway driving experience?
Do you know what? It wasn't too bad. I was a bit worried about. Well, not worried about it, but I was a bit sort of edgy. And then once I actually got out and on there, I was fine. So it's not that big a deal. It's like Jordan was saying on the WhatsApp, it's actually really fucking easy. So, I just stuck to about between 60 and 70, stuck to the left-hand lane quite a bit, didn't get too close to anyone, and it was absolutely fine. So, not a bad first go. So, do you drive, by the way?
I don't. I'm just about to start taking my lessons again.
Right.
Start not next week, the week after.
Yeah. It's true what they say about, I think that the important thing to do is when you pass your test, get out there on the motorway as soon as possible. I shouldn't have left it a year and a half because it becomes a bit of a mental thing then, that you've got to you've got to break, and then it's like, right, I need to find an excuse to go driving and I have to, so I shouldn't have left it as long as I did, but actually it wasn't that big a deal. So, yeah. So, all ready for the 5-hour trip up to the middle of nowhere in Scotland.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Is it?
Yeah. It's the wedding. It's the wedding that's stopping me from going to Fright Fest, and also stopping me from seeing Straight Outta Compton on its opening weekend, which I'm furious about.
Oh no! Yeah, I've been subjecting Becky to NWA for the last 2 weeks in preparation for that movie.
I think I might be. I might try and get to a screening on the Thursday night if I can, because we're travelling on the Friday. So if there's any preview screenings, then I'll hopefully get to one of those. So
yeah, I don't think there will be at some point.
Yeah.
Fucking
did you download the Dre album?
I've not had a chance yet. I've literally today's my first day where I've actually been at home any period of time since last Sunday, and I got up at 9, left the house at 10:30, and then got back in for the football.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I've had a listen to it yesterday. It's decent. I don't think it's groundbreaking, but it's decent. It's better than that. It's better than the single that he had out a while ago, and what I suggested his new stuff might be like. So, yeah, it's alright.
I've been listening to the South Park soundtrack, was produced by Eminem, and that's
was it? Oh shit! Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Somebody mentioned that.
It's a really good soundtrack. There's been a couple of Eminem. Really good.
So is it all rap? Is it all rap then?
Yeah, it's all rap, but it's proper rap, not the shit rap excuse for rap nowadays by people that that are just trying to get YouTube fucking views.
That's a good thing. I think that new Dre album and this new film, and hearing that what you just said, I think there's a bit of a trend at the moment that I think hip hop artists are moving slightly more away from the shiny, poppy, silly Nicki Minaj type stuff, and I think things are going to get a little bit more, a bit more gangster rappy, which is definitely a good thing. So
I'm sick of listening to that auto-tuned same fucking bollocks that we get for like fucking Drake and Jason Derulo that are actually fucking rap nowadays. So I've even been listening to a lot of the Eminem sort of back catalogue stuff, and you listen to it and go, how did we go from like 10 years ago, this, which, is a great progression from 10 years before that, to what the fuck we've got now? It needs to fucking change.
I'll probably leave that in. I don't know what you're talking about, but...
Leave it in.
Yeah, leave it. Right, so, Ian, I'll let you go first. What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, well, I'll just quickly say I rewatched the Tim Story Fantastic Four films, and I won't talk long about this at all. I'm kind of with Noel on that. I think the first one is proper laid back bubblegum fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't take itself seriously at all. It's just a laugh, really. I mean, it's very silly, it's very campy, and why not? The second one tries to go more epic, but just kind of feels like a bit of a damp squib, I think. It kind of feels a little bit ponderous, and it's still like there's less of Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis like interacting with each other, and the kind of the story is rather rote, and by the end of it, I mean, it's kind of weird that at the end of it, the Fantastic Four aren't the ones who actually really defeat Galactus. They just, like, help out Silver Surfer, and then Silver Surfer just goes up there and fucks him up. I don't know, maybe that's true to the comics, I don't know, but that was kind of weird to me.
I think there was an intention to almost make it a Silver Surfer movie. I think that was kind of
I could see that.
I think that was kind of what they wanted to do with it, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, they're solid. I mean, the first one's like a 3.5, the second one's probably a 2. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, I enjoyed the first one more than I remembered enjoying it anyway. Yeah, so, I've only watched, I think, 2 other things, so I'll do the one that I don't think... Yeah, Noel definitely wouldn't have watched this week. I don't even know what I'm fucking talking about. I continued my Bond-a-thon. And this time it's Live and Let Die, which is the blaxploitation Bond.
Right.
Where it's basically Bond goes to Harlem, and then voodoo happens. It's amazing. Yaphet Kotto... His death in this film, I actually want to find it on YouTube and send it to you guys, because it's amazing. Yaphet Kotto, death, live and let die. Epic death scene. Yeah, I suppose that'll do. Right, it's about a minute long, but it's. Have you guys seen this before?
Not that is in my memory.
Okay, good. As long as you guys don't remember it, because it's mental.
Is it as good as the bum scene?
Oh, it's not. Well, maybe.
Oh, fucking you, Windows 10 with your Edge. Oh, that opened quite quickly.
It'll be towards the end.
Hey. Wow. Roger Moore looks really lithe and healthy. What the hell? What the fuck? What the fuck? That is... Wow.
What the fuck?
I mean, they do set it up.
Jesus.
They do set it up earlier in the film. It's basically, it's kind of like an anti-shark gun that Bond is given, with these pellets that, when they go into something, they basically inflate them. So, for those who haven't seen it, basically, Bond sticks one of these pellets in Yaphet Kotto's mouth, shoves him underwater, and then Yaphet Kotto basically inflates and then explodes.
Wow.
And I mean, it's I don't know. You've got that. There's actual like voodoo shit in this, where like voodoo is proven in the world of Bond to be real, which is amazing. Bond, I've mentioned this on the show before, but Bond tricks a virgin into sleeping with him, which is incredible.
Lovely guy.
Yeah, I know. And I don't know. There's actually a bit where someone mouths "what the fuck" really clearly, which is amazing. And there's also the classic line, "You've got a honky on your tail," which I also love. It's basically Bond versus black people. And it's... I don't know. It's amazing. There's a bit at the start where all these agents are getting killed off. Yeah, it could be. And so I'll get on with it. Sorry, just reading a message there. There's a bit at the start where all these agents are getting killed off, and there's this one agent stood on a street corner in Louisiana, and this kind of funeral procession comes along. And there's a casket there, obviously. And this guy comes up to him, and he says to this guy, "Oh, whose funeral is it?" And the other guy says, "Yours." And then they kill it, and then they basically kill him, and then put him in the casket, and then they start playing happy music and having a bit of a dance, and then they do it again later on, and it's just like, is this not the most elaborate way of on the lowdown killing people you've ever seen? It's quite something to behold, is Live and Let Die. I mean, it's also got the amazing fucking Bond theme, and then it kind of pops up every now and then. There's like a club version of it at one point, which is great. It's mental and kind of terrible, but it's a lot more enjoyable than You Only Live Twice and Diamonds Are Forever, and at the very least, maybe even Dr. No, frankly. And I enjoyed it. Looking forward to more Roger Moore. So, Unfriended. Noel, you watched this.
I did indeed. Yes, I did.
And so this is another Blum production, Jason Blum production, and it kind of hasn't had as much hype through the horror circles because it's not in the horror film that's on VOD, and so everybody needs to seems to want to shout its praises because it's small and indie. So's this. Yeah, it's released by Universal, but it's produced by Blumhouse Productions. They're not exactly an absolute powerhouse. It's fairly indie, and do you know what? It's decent, isn't it, Noel?
I don't give a shit about the horror community, because they're often very wrong about things. So, no, Unfriended, I thought it was cracking, really solid. I remember seeing the trailer for it and fancying it, but being a bit worried because, these things can date by the time they've come out. But it doesn't matter. It's well put together, and, there's little ways that they go about doing things in the, I'm sure everybody's aware of what it is. It's basically a horror movie that takes place on one girl's laptop screen with Skype and everything like that and her social networks. But the way that they actually do that is quite clever, even just little tiny things that they do, like, when she'll get a message from someone and she'll type out the message, but she won't hit send. And then she'll stop and she'll pause and she'll wait for a bit. And then she'll delete it and change the message, or she'll delete a bit of the message. So there's one where she says something like, it was nothing to do with me, I promise you. And she just hovers and doesn't send it. And then she goes back and then she deletes the bit that says, I promise you, because she knows that the weight of her saying that is, and it's the type of thing that we all do, or even just little moments where she'll say something to somebody and they won't respond, and then she'll go, why aren't you responding? And then there'll be a pause, and then you'll see that little bubble with the dots where it's like, oh, they're writing.
And then
That's brilliant. That's because that is, if you think about it, we all get that in our day-to-day lives. Sometimes you'll text somebody something, and you'll see that they're writing a response, and there is a tension there. There is a sort of waiting. Oh, what are they writing? Are they going to give me the answer that I want them to give me, or whatever? So, I really nicely put together, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I like the bits as well where there's a bit where she's basically trying to block someone or remove someone, and she's she tries to get the option's grayed out, and it's just that kind of seems like maybe the page just the page didn't load correctly or something, so it's not letting you do that option. It's like, is it that, or is it the spirit fucking with it? There's little things like that they really get down that stuff really well. And
it's just that's a nice idea as well. The idea that that a spirit or a possession or something like that can affect source code and just change. Do you know what I mean? Like things like that. It's a really nice idea, and they don't feel it doesn't feel the need to over explain that stuff. It's there because that's what this spirit or this presence is trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't know. I thought the story had some good little twists in it. What was on that video that people were so aggressively taking the piss out of that girl for that she felt the need to kill herself. And you're watching it at first, it's like, oh yeah, she's just passed out drunk. I won't say what it actually is. But the reveal of that, where it's just they
don't rush it.
Yeah, and you would imagine she would be a social pariah for that. How embarrassing that would be to have that caught on video, and her relationship with the main girl, and the main girl kind of seems like she's sweetness and light, and then there's some shit in there. You know, again, I don't want to say too much. And I thought the story was really, like, nicely tense. When it kind of kicks off properly in like the last half hour or so, I thought that was well done. It doesn't outstay its welcome at all. It's paced really well. I mean, pretty much the only minus point I could really give it is the very, 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 very end. Just like literally the last 5 seconds, I was just like, oh, I'm not really into that. You had to have a scare. Could have done with something else rather than that. But I had a really good, tense time with this.
That ending that you're referring to, again, I won't spoil, but it reminded me very much of another low-budget horror movie that did quite well a few years ago and has had sequels since. Like, you know,
I know what you're talking about.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, it felt like that one. I'm gonna give it away, probably, but it was a found footage movie that had 2 endings, and the lesser ending sort of, it reminded me of that, but yeah.
Oh, hang on. No, I don't know what you mean.
Oh, do you not? Okay. I don't want to spoil it.
Is it foreign language?
No.
Okay, I think I do know what it is, but I thought it was something else at first, but now I think I do know what it is. Yes. Anyway, it's really solid. It, you know, doesn't take too much of your time at all, and really well done. I love the fact that you know, that Facebook and Spotify and whatnot kind of agreed to this, because you could have just as easily used like fake social networks and stuff, and it almost kind of feels like that kind of real tangibility would have been lost as a result. Just the way it gets, like, the whole interface of everything so spot on. It's very, very, very well done. And that's it for me, actually.
Cool. Noel, do you want to hit us with yours?
Well, there was Unfriended. I'll also mention Pitch Perfect 2, which I watched because the missus kind of wanted to watch it.
I got 4 minutes in.
It's not for me. It's not for me. It's not for us. Mm-hmm. Claire really enjoyed it. It was fun for her. The bits in between the songs weren't very funny, I didn't think, and there was a couple of laughs in there, but I thought it just wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it at all. What I did enjoy though was Wildcard, which is the new Jason Statham movie, which everybody should go and watch because it's great. I believe it's not a remake of Heat with Burt Reynolds, but I believe that they're both based on the same novel. So I will be checking out that because I like the idea of seeing Burt Reynolds in this film. But yeah, it's basically Jason Statham mooching around Las Vegas and getting into different sort of situations, and he's sort of dreaming of how to escape this life that he's created for himself. And is he a good guy? He's helping people out, or is he a bad guy? Because, you know, how does he make his money? It's really nice. It's got a bit of a sort of modern noir feel to it. And obviously with it being set in Las Vegas, it's got that sort of, you know, city that never sleeps sort of vibe to it, where, you know, it's constantly just one time zone in the clubs that you frequent and stuff. So yeah, it's great, really well worth watching. I also watched Margin Call, which is brilliant. So, 2011 movie, with an amazing cast. Kevin Spacey, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons, Zachary Quinto, Demi Moore, Stanley Tucci. So a great cast. Basically, it's a sort of real-timey sort of thing. Not real-time, but, you know, it's set within sort of one night. And it's a large sort of investment bank dealing with the fact that the financial crisis is just about to happen. Excellent performances from everybody involved, but Paul Bettany and Jeremy Irons in particular are excellent, and I really enjoyed that. And that was about it. So yeah.
Cool. I've just got the one. I rewatched. Oh, by the way, yeah, Margin Call's a fucking great film.
Have you both seen that then? Yeah.
Yeah, man. Not for a few years, but I really enjoyed it.
I rewatched it at the start of this year and really enjoyed it when I first watched it when it came out. and again, just really enjoyed it. It's a proper tense fucking movie for what it's about.
Brilliantly written as well. Isn't it Thingy though? What's his face? Mamet. Is it Mamet?
Who wrote it?
Yeah.
Right. J.C. Chandor in it?
No, who wrote it?
I thought J.C. Chandor wrote it.
What? He wrote it as well, yeah. He got nominated, I think, for Best Screenplay, didn't he?
Yeah, got an Oscar nomination, yeah.
Yeah, J.C. Chandor. It's a fucking great movie, that. I rewatched The World's End, because when I first watched it, I really, really didn't like it. But I'd give it another go, because when I first watched, and it could be raised for a second note, when I first watched Shaun of the Dead, I didn't like it, and now I really do like it. So I thought I'd give, Becky wanted to rewatch it, because I think she fell asleep last time we watched it. So rewatched that. And liked it a lot more on the second watch. I still think that it feels at points a little bit Channel 4 specially. And I think it'd be a lot more interesting if it had less of the action going on. But it went from being a 4/5 out of 10 movie for me to being a 6.5, 7 out of 10 movie for me, which is
Sorry, Nick Robinson.
7 out of 10 movie for me. It had a lot more heart in it than I remember it having. I was quite sort of surprised at that. So I'm glad I kind of made my peace with The World's End.
I enjoyed it a lot more on a rewatch, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed it flowed a lot better on a rewatch. It made a lot more sense. It didn't feel like when I first watched it felt like I was watching two movies. One movie up to where they start getting attacked, and then another movie after that, and I didn't like either movie. This felt like one actual movie, and things started to actually make sense. So I actually quite enjoyed it.
I will say, the opening still, and the ending, I think are still terrible, and I don't think Simon Pegg is a strong enough dramatic actor to pull off the kind of the slightly more dramatic moments he has in that film. It kind of feels like he's trying to actually be a character, and I think he fails at doing that. But I don't mind the film at all.
Yeah. So yeah, that was what I've been watching. We do actually have a few questions this week. So bear with me 2 seconds, and I shall get to them. First one is from TDP73, Ginger Prince. What is the oldest film you've seen?
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari? I mean, like full-length film. Yeah.
You can't include, it's not like the
Trip to the Moon or something.
Train pulling into a station.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd probably say is the oldest one I've seen.
Yeah, definitely, same here.
Yeah, it's still a good film actually. I watched it back to the moment, but it's still entertaining.
Creepy
I would mention as well, though, I did see, I've probably mentioned it before, but I did see Metropolis in the cinema a couple of years ago, the sort of restored bit with all the extra bits in it, and that's the first time I'd ever seen it, and that was pretty fucking awesome.
Metropolis, man. That restored version, it's the only version I've seen as well, and that is a hell of a film.
Mm. Yeah.
It is. It really is, yeah. It's a long movie. Jeez, a commitment. Cookie Man 1970 on Twitter. What's the most disturbing / upsetting film you've seen?
I've got two separate answers, one for upsetting and one for disturbing. Upsetting, Dear Zachary. Disturbing, The Brood. The Brood.
Yeah, The Brood is really disturbing.
Fuck that film.
Yeah. The Brood hates the female body. It's brilliant.
Oh my god. It's David Cronenberg pissed off. That's terrifying.
Cronenberg films I've not seen.
Oh my god, Mark, seriously, mate. Don't be in a dark mood when you watch that.
I don't think it's one of his best, but it's well worth seeing.
Yeah. Oh no, it is. But I will never watch it again. That was a one and done, like Dear Zachary. But that was a one and done.
Yeah, I too have the same. I have to answer that. Most disturbing, Martyrs fucking broke me. Absolutely did. It really, really. I I needed to be sort of in a happy place for about a week after Martyrs to kind of recover. So that was the most disturbing film. Probably most upsetting, Michael Caton-Jones is shooting dogs is an incredibly upsetting movie. That it's strange that he had two movies out in the same weekend. He had that and basically two out in the same weekend.
Shit. Bloody hell.
And that it's really fucking strange. But yeah, it's about it's set in Rwanda in 1994 when the essentially genocide happened. And it is fucking graphic as fuck, in terms of depicting essentially just people just getting, pregnant women getting hacked up with machetes and things like that, but not in a horror kind of way. It's done as a
matter of fact.
Yeah, as a very dramatic kind of way. It stars John Hurt and Hugh Darcy. It's one of those where I would never say to anybody, you really should watch this. But if you want to watch it, watch it. But it is incredibly disturbing at a point. Yeah, that'd be mine on those.
Well, I'll give you two then, but the upsetting one is not necessarily because of the film itself, but it's just the situation. I went to watch The Pianist at the cinema, and it was literally, it was around a time when I was in a very, 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 very emotionally delicate place. Nothing crazy, but just, yeah. And it properly broke me, just that film. I mean, I loved it, but it just made me sob like a bitch. Like, the purpose of going to the cinema was to escape this thing that was going on. It was a long-term relationship breakup, that's all it was. But just like, yeah, the film just fucking destroyed me. So that's an upsetting one. But as far as, disturbing is concerned, I think I've mentioned it before, 1966 Africa Addio, which is also known as Africa Blood and Guts. Okay. It's damaging, that film. Like, for those who don't know, it's basically, it's kind of a Mondo movie, but it's sort of, in that it's like a sort of falsified documentary. It's all about, the supposed sort of crazy animal poaching and mass violence in the streets and horrible tribal murders and everything, that all occurred in Africa once it was handed back to the natives from the British Empire. So it's kind of racist, and it's made by two Italian filmmakers, and it's positioned as a documentary, but it's kind of clear that it isn't. It's got an agenda. It's pushing a bit of an agenda, but some of the scenes in that are just, there's stuff in there that is real, stuff that did happen, and it's really, really difficult to watch. So, there's stuff with sort of fields of people just being killed. And then there's also stuff in there around sort of animal cruelty, which is also always difficult. There's stuff around sort of, poachers who are attacking elephants, and then they cut open this elephant and find that there was a baby elephant inside. So you see them pulling out this dead baby elephant. It's really, really, really sad and really disturbing. It's I like disturbing stuff, but that's the one time where I was watching something and I was like, this has pushed me to as far as I ever want to go. So, it's a fucking challenging film, that. But, yeah. It's not something I can recommend, but it's a fucking challenging watch.
Our final question, is, how big a steelbook collector are you all? I'm just curious to know, because I've seen some crazy people laying them and keeping them sealed. Are you one of those people that buy all three versions, etc., and keep that different? Do you not bother much at all? Would you much prefer collect the movie on Blu-ray, or would you wait for a steelbook? I'm a kind of big steelbook collector. I will, if there's a nice looking steelbook version of something, for instance, Dread, that I've already got, I will happily spend 20 quid to replace it with the steelbook if the steelbook looks nice. No, the minute I get them, I open them, I look at the fucking app. I don't believe in keeping them sealed to sell them later on. Those people who buy three versions of three copies of a film to then sell two of them are the anti-collectors, so I don't agree with that. But yeah, I still like my steelbooks. I've got 2 this week. I've got the Apocalypse Now one. So I've got 3 this week. I've got the Losers, which is a lovely looking steelbook, the Dread one, and the Apocalypse Now one. And I'm very happy with all 3 of those.
I have no interest. I mean, I have barely any interest anymore, to be honest. I've fallen out of love with Blu-ray collecting. It's not saying I'm gonna chuck all my Blu-rays or whatever, but I couldn't really give a fuck anymore.
We worked hard to create this business.
To give you an idea though, of what is it? I have bought 5 Blu-rays this year so far. Which is, considering how many I used to buy, it is staggering, and all 5 of them have been steelbooks.
There you go.
I won't buy.
I'm not a big Blu-ray buyer, but if I'm buying, then I will always choose the steelbook if that option is available. And just to illustrate Ian's point as well, I'm looking right now at this gorgeous Blu-ray steelbook of Whiplash, which I bought off Ian. So clearly he doesn't care, and clearly I'm a sucker. But there you go.
Yeah, I forgot I ordered it, and it just turned up. I was like, shit. Yeah. All right then.
I like a good steelbook, yeah, but I'm not a huge Blu-ray collector anyway, so.
I got heavily into the steelbook game, and then found that I was buying them and spending like 20 quid on something, and then turned up. Don't really like the artwork on that, so I kind of quelled that. When I think at one point I had 23 on pre-order, and looked at it and went, I need those, and I scaled down to 3. From those 23. So, yeah, like I say, I bought 5 this year, and that's it. You can go down a rabbit hole with them, I think. So, yes, that's all our questions, and that is episode 122. Hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you very much, Noel, as always, for joining us. Ian, what are we covering
Yes, The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
next week?
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.,
Yes, we are covering The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I know you're very excited for, and I'm very ambivalent towards, but because I'm ambivalent towards it, it's kind of making me excited to go and watch it in a really random, weird way.
Well, it's either that or Pixels, so.
I really don't know.
Nobody wants to watch Pixels.
Yeah, no, nobody does. And, is anybody actually watching it? I don't think there is. I thought it'd already been out, to be honest, Pixels. So, yeah. So, anything else to add, guys?
Nah.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Out.